topic in discussion today that I will be speaking of is should school uniforms be mandatory? There has been a debate and discussion for quite some time on whether school uniforms should be mandatory. I personally believe that they should, but there are other opinions and options out there. Even though some of you may agree with school uniforms and some may not, I have a few reasons why they are good and why they are bad. These are the opinions of other parents, teachers, and even students. Before I state their opinions, I want to state mine, which is quite similar to what you're about to hear. I personally, of course, just repeated, disagree with school uniforms being mandatory. As a mother, I feel my son should be able to dress how he feels like dressing. When a child dresses themselves, not only do they gain confidence, but they also feel somewhat independent in their choices. I also feel school uniforms are somewhat of a burden because at times not everybody has an amount of money to pay for school uniforms. Therefore, it can be a burden to some parents. Here are some opinions and statements. Some of the opinions and statements I found I could relate to and understand where the parent or child was coming from. Both sides hold strong points of view. The first opinion agrees with school uniforms. Uniforms give everyone a sense of belonging, especially in a secondary school. Teenagers are trying to find themselves and understand themselves. By giving them all a uniform, there is something that connects everyone. It's no longer about trying to outdo each other in costume or being more popular because everyone is alike. I go to a private school where we must all be in uniform. It makes it much easier to walk into school knowing that I don't have to outdo anyone with what I wear. Of course, you can tell that this is a student who wrote it and a student who believes that somewhat school uniforms are appropriate. Here's the second-based opinion, disagreeing with school uniforms, and states a good point that most schools and some parents try to state as a reason why uniforms should be mandatory. School uniforms should not be required. They are a burden to families and financial issues, and they make kids feel like they're very restricted and dull from what they can wear. They are not the reason for violence. The mental state of the child is the reason for that. No individual can be expressed if children are so concentrated or constrained. Academics are determined by the determination of the student, not what they wear. Basically another opinion that a parent stated, which is true because some schools try to state that school uniforms basically make students' attendance better, which I find to be false. Because how can school uniform make attendance better? I don't see the proper way that can make a child be better in the ability. Okay. Another statement which agrees with school uniforms is uniforms reduce bullying. I go to a private school with uniforms, but before I went to a public school with no uniform. And every day I would be bullied because I never had the coolest clothes. Every morning I would fight with my parents about what to wear. I was never happy because I knew I would be bullied no matter what I wore. It sucked a lot. But now going to a private school with uniforms is so much better. No hassle in the morning to get ready and no more fighting. A lot of people say it takes away our right to be creative, but it really doesn't. We can wear what we would like over our shirts. Doesn't matter the shirt, and we can wear tights, scarves, and any kind of shoe we want. It doesn't take away our creativity, but really helps inspire it. That's why uniforms are amazing. The best part, I am never bullied anymore. I'm basically, of course, a student who agrees with school uniforms. And in a way, it's true. Uniforms are good, but I personally do not agree with school uniforms. And I believe school uniforms go against a child's creative mind or ability to dress themselves. A good example would be how I asked my son today, would he rather wear school uniforms or dress himself? And he told me he'd rather dress himself than wear school uniforms because he feels he can express himself more with his clothing. And he likes picking out his clothing in the morning, which I understood. Another opinion that disagrees with school uniforms is, can school uniforms actually cause bullying? Yes, some may say that it gives students a sense of identity. It prepares them for later on in life, but it isn't all rainbows and uniforms. School rivals commonly pick on those from a certain school, identifying them using the school uniform. Therefore, it wouldn't help prevent bullying, but it could just change the alternative on how bullying is done. These are just some of the opinions that go around from people's thoughts and personalities. And I basically got those opinions off of a website called debate.org, which basically has a debate going on whether school uniforms should be mandatory or not. I also found more information about whether school uniforms should be mandatory or not on greatschools.org. I feel that these websites kind of helped me on whether school uniforms should be mandatory or not, and it basically gave me a sense of why it should or shouldn't be. And I actually casted a vote in a website called www.ehow.com. It basically allows you to cast votes and basically put your opinion on why school uniforms should be mandatory. So now I personally don't understand why school uniforms is like such a big deal with some schools. I understand that people or schools might believe school uniforms is helpful to them, but in some ways it's not helpful to the parents. And I feel it can actually distress the parents in some ways because they're trying to give their child what they can't sometimes. An additional site that I found basically useful was on Yahoo. It's voices.yahoo.com. Now this site agreed completely with school uniforms and spoke about how it benefits students. For example, the site states that the school uniforms help with safety issues, reducing peer pressure, helping students focus on school, and installing discipline. As for the second site that I just stated, it gives more details about how school uniforms have increased nationwide over the years. It also stated how it has caused some issues between parents and students, as I've stated. Basically, the stress between money and having school uniforms, and then also having to buy regular clothing causes issues with parents and students. However the case may end, I still stand by my decision that school uniforms should not be mandatory. I feel that school uniforms doesn't really give students the opinion and choice that they want. Whether you may or may not be against school uniform is mainly up to you individually. I believe if you sit down with your child and ask them how they feel about school uniforms, not only will you become closer with your child, but you'll actually understand where they're coming from. Also, allowing yourself to get involved with your child's school debates can allow you to know what is going on in and out of their school. This brings us back to the topic on whether or not school uniforms should be mandatory. The debate on whether or not school uniforms should be mandatory will not change until more parents and students get involved. I have involved myself and voted against school uniforms. Not for myself, but for my son and all those students who disagree with school uniforms and feel that they can express themselves through their clothing. There's a percentage of 45 people who basically agree with school uniforms, and a percentage who disagree with school uniforms, which is 55%. As you can see, the rating of disagreeing with school uniforms is higher than agreeing with school uniforms. You can help change with the percentage of this debate. All you have to do is cast your vote or get involved with your child's school. See what their opinion is or what they feel that is best for, your child. But in the end, it mainly comes down to you as parents on whether you agree or disagree with your child about school uniforms. So I challenge you, take a vote and join in on whether school uniforms should be mandatory. As Benjamin Franklin once stated, those who would give up essentially liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Okay, Principal
Anybody have
Balzan.
any questions?
Principal Balzan,
Now, your father and you're wearing a uniform, that's it.
Thank you.